Okay, so I'm actually going to talk to you now about paper, board and card. There are some things that you definitely need to know for your exam, which is where it comes from, how it's made, and the properties of different types of paperboard and card, and how we manufacture with it. So, first things that are really, really important to know is that paper is actually a renewable resource and is recyclable. It comes from trees. A lot of people get quite confused at this point and think that it comes from tree bark. In fact, when we cut down the trees, the first thing that we do is actually remove the bark. Then it is cut into sections and it is put through a milling press. So it could be cut down and it'll be made into nice little chips. And then it's saturated in water until it becomes a pulp, and then it's run through some rollers and the water is evaporated out. And quite often you'll see that when paper is made, it's in giant rolls. However, we quite often have paper in standard sizes, so they vary from sizes A6 to A0. Now, confusingly enough, A6 is the smallest size, which is about the same size as a business card. Our most common sizes are A4 and A3, but A0 is actually a whole metre square. Paperboard and card also varies in thicknesses, and this is measured in GSM, which is grams per square metre. That means that how much that piece of paper would weigh if it was a metre squared. Obviously, the thicker the paper is, the more expensive it tends to be, and quite often the more luxurious. There are lots of different types of paperboard and card as well. I'm going to start off by talking to you about probably the most common one that we see in packaging, which is duplex board. Duplex board is seen in cereal packaging. Cereal packaging normally has a really nice glossy outside, but on the inside it's kind of untreated and is brown in colour. Now, this is because it reduces the cost of the card altogether. So we only need one surface that is printed on, and that is finished to a high standard. We normally print on duplex board using a process called offset lithography. And sometimes the board is also laminated on the outside to make sure that it retains a high quality finish. Now, because this board is only for a single use, so you would only need to use it until the item inside is finished, that means that it's normally quite lightweight, so the GSM would be quite low because it doesn't need to be particularly thick. That's because the packaging only needs to protect it for a certain amount of time. Another type of paperboard and card that's also really common and sometimes comes up in exams is aseptic board. Now, aseptic board is really interesting because it's also helps to keep our produce fresh. So on the inside we normally find an aluminium foil sheet. That means that any heat is reflected or refracted back in on the contents. So it will either keep the product warm or cold. However, because what we normally keep in aseptic board is liquid, that means that we need to ensure that it is watertight. So what will normally happen is that you would have an outside layer, which is polythene, then another layer, which is paper, card and board, which is normally duplex board, and then you would have a layer of aluminium and then another layer of polythene. This means that it's actually quite a lot harder to recycle. Now, it is recyclable, however, it does mean that you have to separate out those different components for it to be able to be recycled. Now, they use duplex board again in aseptic board because it's nice and easy to print on with offset lithography. The third type of paperboard and card I'm going to talk to you about is corrugated cardboard. Corrugated cardboard may not be the most attractive type of board, however, it has several uses. Corrugated cardboard is a really good insulator. That means that it will keep a product warm, or it will also absorb an impact. It's not expected to be used or displayed in shops, so that's why it's that lovely brown colour, because it's not treated, because it will drive up the cost of the packaging. It is, however, quite easy to recycle because there is no plastic additives added to it. Okay, so the fourth type of paperboard and card I'm going to speak to you about is whiteboard. Now, whiteboard is a very high spec type of card. It is the most expensive card per grams per square metre. That's because it is a high quality finish card. You most often see whiteboard in greetings cards. The greetings cards normally have a shiny outside and a shiny inside. That means that they've been treated to a high level and quite occasionally are also laminated. The card is laminated because it's often kept as a keepsake. That means that the product actually needs to last longer. Also, because it's a display item, we want to have a very high quality finish. The high quality finish is again achieved through offset lithography as a type of printing. Okay, so the next one that I'm actually going to talk to you about, the next type of paper I'm going to talk to you about is actually printer paper. Now, not a lot of people believe that printer paper is particularly special, but actually printer paper is a mixture of wood pulp and plastic. That's because it works a little bit like sublimation printing works. So when we put our paper into the printer and it sometimes comes out hot, that's because we've used heat to impregnate the ink into the paper. So the heat will actually open up pores in the plastic to allow the ink to be absorbed, and then when it cools down, the pores actually close up and the ink does not smudge. Now that's really important if you're printing onto any kind of surface.